protest and counter-protest at National Heroes Circle in Jamaica as the opposition leads protests against the appointment of Dennis Chung as head of the Financial Investigations Division. A pocket of JLP supporters on hand, and while the protest was going on, the JLP having a press conference at their Belmont Road headquarters where they decried the actions of the PNP. It all went down. We're going to analyze it and of course tell you how it felt to be in the thick of things as the PNP took action to have Dennis Chung removed as the head of the FID. This is Lead Story on this Monday. Let's start the show. Welcome to the story on this Monday, June 2, 2025. The date's significant because it's the first day on the job for the FID's new man in charge, Chief Technical Director, that's Dennis Chung. All right, so the protest today at National Heroes Circle, and in the thick of it was our news team. Shante, you were out there with the hundreds of comrades. First of all, was this your first time covering a protest of this nature?
It was. I mean, I have covered different protests before, but not
one
a
as big as this.
political one, and not one as big as this.
Tell me about the energy in the crowd first up, and what time you got there?
I got there like minutes to 9, so probably like 8:57, somewhere thereabout. As soon as I got there, there was heavy police presence. A lot of people in orange, everybody just waiting to support the PNP's protest. It was a really, I don't know how to put it, but like it was very tense at first. But after, listening and speaking with the people there, their main thing that they're protesting is that they said that this is an action by the government. It's to put corruption in the governance. And that was something that I spoke to the different persons there. As soon as Golding came on scene, everybody was going crazy. They wanted to speak with him. And yeah, it was a very interesting moment to be there.
Tell me how the crowd reacted to some of the different speakers. For instance, what was the reaction when Dr. Dayton Campbell, the General Secretary, took the microphone, Dr. Peter Phillips, the former PNP president, and of course Mark Golding himself when he spoke? Yeah,
so like when Phillips took the mic, he mentioned several things. One of them was that, with Chung being in the position, it would really, turn the whole situation into a political puppy show or something of that nature.
Yes.
And, everybody was in agreement with it. They were like, yes, this is the reason why, Andrew shouldn't be getting, or Dr. Holness shouldn't be getting a third term. They were very supportive. As I said, it was a lot of them.
You mentioned tension, Shante, but I'm sure that the area being tense when you got there, it would have turned to festivity at some point, because while I was watching on the stream, it was a lot of singing and dancing, and comrades seemed jubilant in the hot sun.
Right, they were, and they were singing a lot of songs. At one point, we heard them, they were chanting at one point, shame on Andrew, shame on the government. And then, I mean, at some point, we had some JLP supporters passing by, and then everybody turned their attention. I believe it was, I don't remember the exact speaker, but one of them they were talking, and then they turned their attention to the JLP, and then everybody was like going crazy. But then, of course, like I said, the police presence was very heavy there.
And on that point, were there any crowd disturbances, any skirmishes, or it was just peaceful and merry among the comrades?
I mean, apart from that one time that they turned their attention to the JLP, there wasn't really any. And the police, of course, were on scene, ensuring that they stayed on the corridor.
Did you observe from your vantage, Shante, any employees at the finance ministry building perhaps looking on at the protest outside, or everybody was inside?
They were not on the outside, but like you could see them on like the top floor. They were looking on. Some of them were laughing. Some of them were, of course, just observing what was happening. And yeah, it eventually wrapped up, and they closed and they went away.
Excellent. Thank you very much for the report, and you have broken your duck in terms of covering a big political protest. All right. Break time, back with more after This is Lead Story.
Join my private room. Only $1,000 for a grand time.
That I know me. We never said that. But who going to believe me?
That is correct. $4,350,000. Yes, go ahead. $4 million? I never approved that.
Yes, me I go doctor tomorrow. So me have to get the money today, no longer. Then no me face that. We never make no record or beg nobody no money.
Deepfakes are AI-generated images and videos made to look and sound like people we know and trust. They're used to spread misinformation, destroy reputations, and are used to commit fraud and scams. Don't fall victim to deepfakes. Protect yourself. For more information, visit broadcastingcommission.org or scan the QR code on screen.
Hey everybody, I'm Yendi, and this is Odyssey with Yendi. In this space, we connect with some of your favorite people as they share their journeys. Here we have some unfiltered conversations as we deep dive into their inspirations, motivations, and experiences to inspire our own life journey.
Never a dull moment in Jamaican politics, and although the official campaign hasn't started, because that only starts officially once the Prime Minister has announced the date for nominations and elections, but already in this pre-election campaign period, Dennis Chung's name is the political football that both sets of players, PNP and JLP, are battling for control of the name of Dennis Chung. And yeah, it was certainly has been in the headlines over the past 4 or 5 days here in Jamaica. So that protest action today by the PNP organized a National Heroes Circle, this site where our heroes are buried, and they occupy the eastern side of National Heroes Circle. For those of you who are familiar with the area, you are coming along Moresco Road, you passed Michael University College, coming down to the two Woolmer schools, boys and girls. Girls on the left, yeah, the boys on the right, and you're going down into Heroes Circle, and the PNP were right on that side. A pocket of JLP supporters on the other side of Heroes Circle, much small group compared to the PNP, who pulled hundreds to that protest, and the PNP top brass out in force, including Dr. Omar Davis, Dr. Peter Phillips, stalwarts of the past, and the now generation led by the comrade leader, Mark Jefferson Golding. All right, so what did the Prime Minister say on Sunday, speaking to laborites at the West Central St. James Constituency Conference? Marlene Malahoo Fort is in that territory trying to stave off a strong challenge from Dr. Andre Sheets Horton of the PNP. Holness was there as the guest speaker. What did he say about today's protest?
I hear that they are going to have protests for manufactured rage and crises that don't exist. Well, I want every labourite to protest against this hypocrisy tomorrow. I want every labourite, wherever you are, to protest in your workplace, to protest in the market, to protest wherever you are of the bad mindism of the PNP that is trying to bring down the progress of the people. Stand up, labourites. Stand up for justice. Stand up for truth. Stand up against the PNP. There was a time when the playbook of the PNP used to make labourites afraid. Is a different labourite you're looking on today. Labour rights are proud of their party.
Prime Minister Dr. Andrew Holness in West Central St. James Marlene Malahoo Ford's constituency on Sunday. So fast forward to today and the PNP making good on their notice given, notice I didn't say threat, the notice given last Thursday at their midday press conference, giving the government 72 hours notice to rescind the appointment of Dennis Chung. It was more than 72, closer to 96. So what did the Comrade leader say to the CVM news team when they spoke with him at the scene of today's protest?
Has problems. The Integrity Commission has investigated him and they are not satisfied with their findings. They have not been able to certify his annual declarations as being in good order. They have referred the matter for further investigation to the Financial Investigations Division, a critical law enforcement investigative agency. There is a whole lot of issues at stake. There's a question of the 28 bank accounts. There's a question of the cash deposits from anonymous sources to his bank account of millions of dollars. There is over $470 million of flows moving between his various accounts in many thousands of transactions. There's the fact that his companies which are involved in those transactions file nil returns with the tax department. And there is the fact that Positive Jamaica Foundation, a non-profit entity that goes out and solicits donations for worthy causes, which is under his control, provided resources to his personal company to make financial investments on his behalf. All of these are serious allegations. And these are matters which the person who they have just appointed to head the FID, the Financial Investigations Division, has said there's nothing untoward or wrong. You cannot have a man who is defending the person on the investigation being put in charge of the agency that is tasked with doing the investigation. There's a clear conflict of interest. There is manifest bias.
Mark Goling speaking at Heroes Circle at the scene of that PNP protest. Turning now for some perspectives to a UWI assistant lecturer, Damian Gordon. Welcome to the, I almost said professor, welcome to the lead story on this Monday evening, Damian.
Thanks for having me, George.
All right, good. From where you sit, the justification for the protest and the PNP's stance towards the Dennis Chung appointment, what's your position?
All right, so on the matter of the justification for the protest, the People's National Party has the right to peace with the protest as any other group or individual in Jamaica. Obviously, this exercise was resonated with the base of the party. So for all intents and purposes, it was a partisan exercise. And in an election year, a party needs to demonstrate its ability to galvanize and mobilize its base. I don't think that this exercise will resonate beyond the party loyalists. I think that the party, however, needs to use a broader, more forum or diverse forum to reach a broader audience. So there are persons who are non-partisan, and the party needs to use different platforms or different forums to reach the non-partisan audience. This could include appearance on televised programs, radio programs, etc. But I take this exercise for what it is. It is obviously a partisan exercise, and it was well attended. And in an election year, demonstrating that you can mobilize your base around these issues is very important. But beyond that, as I said, the party, in order for the party to articulate its broader concerns to a more a non-partisan audience, a broader audience, it needs to also use other forums to reach a diverse audience. But as it relates to the concerns that the
just before we move on, Damian, move on, Damian, let me hear you on this, because I'm very as keen to get more on this. You say that from a purely partisan political basis, which of course parties are entitled to act in because they're seeking political office, nothing wrong with that, the base would be satisfied. But why do you believe the manner, form and substance of the protest would not resonate with those in that political middle who have not committed either no JLP, no PNP, but are interested in the political process? Why do you think they would not be as impressed by what happened today as die-hearted comrades?
Yeah. So when people see a group of obvious party supporters who are clad in the party colors protesting, this tend to, in the minds of people, undermine the seriousness of the occasion because people will just simply associate it with partisan exercise. And many of the individuals who turn up are generally mobilized by the party officials, members of parliament, and others to attend these events without necessarily understanding or considering the value of the event per se. Say this to say that individuals who are not tuned into this type of event, who perhaps pay close attention to the discussion segments on traditional media, TV and radio, I think, and the televised programs, I think this is an opportunity. This creates a more sober, quieter, personalized space for them to listen attentively to the concerns as articulated in a sober manner. And I think this platform, that this type of approach to public discussion would resonate more with the non-partisans. But there is value in this approach because obviously you need to also mobilize and energize your base.
And you made that point.
Issue that unites the base of the party.
And you made that point. Hold it for me there, Damian Gordon. We'll take a break and come back. This is Lead Story here on CVM TV, talking about the PNP's protest against the appointment of Dennis Chung as Chief Technical Director, the man in charge at the Financial Investigations Division, FID.
Let's delve deep into the issues. We'll take you beneath the surface.
Greetings and salutations. My name is Orville Higgins and it's another edition of Fan Central.
Talking to the people at the heart of the top sporting stories. Hear from your favorite sportsmen and women and the administrators who work tirelessly to make it all happen. It's live sports talk.
I've written an entire article.
Yes.
Looking at all the major issues every Tuesday at 9 p.m. It's Fan Central.
Every dream conquered is another dream gained. I land and I fly again like a jet plane.
I think that he's qualified for the position. He has worked across the board and he has done well. So I think he's qualified.
I believe that he's competent to manage this position. And if he's not, in time will tell if he's not competent to manage his position that he got.
I think that he's qualified.
Welcome back to Lead Story here on CVM TV. The perspectives of two members of the public there to the appointment of Dennis Chung as Chief Technical Director, the most senior position in the Financial Investigations Division. Lecturer, may I trouble you with this question?
Yeah.
If it is that you have someone who, in their role as a public servant and a worker in the private sector at a very high level. So Dennis Chung, let's look at his CV. He's worked with Restaurants of Jamaica, KFC, JMMB, DBNG. He's been CEO of the private sector organization of Jamaica. He's been chairman under a PNP administration of the National Solid Waste Management Authority. He's been the man who effectively the CEO of the Jamaica Football Federation in his role as general secretary. He's been chairman of National Integrity Action, and he's also been a public commentator. When you have someone like that who served both administrations but also does public commentating, yourself, people call you, ask you for your opinions on various news stories, and you give that opinion. Should that opinion be held against you in the manner that the PNP says makes him unsuited for the job of CTD at the FID?
Yeah. So as far as I understand it, the concerns being expressed are twofold. One of the concerns has to do with the perception of his qualifications, both academically and experientially, for the position. It has been highlighted that the job requirements were revised. When we looked at what the requirements were last year, there has been a revision of the job requirements. They have removed the criterion that the successful applicant should possess 12 years experience in law enforcement. Some of these years should be in a senior level position. Now, the question that arises is, what accounts for the revision of the job, the requirements, as the nature and scope of the job changed since? Based on my analysis of these very technical positions, we find that the requirements typically upgrade rather than downgrade, because these jobs tend to become complex or more complex over time. As the skill sets to do them effectively evolve, we tend to see an upgrading of the requirements for these jobs as opposed to downgrading. So there's a lack of transparency in terms of explaining why the requirements were downgraded. And it's also important for us to know if a particular set of standards were being used previously to recruit holders of this office, what would now account for a shift or a move away from those standards? It could give the impression that this revision was done to accommodate Dennis Strong. So there is a question about integrity and the lack of transparency.
I'd say to you because what I'd say to you is this. I thank you for preempting my next question and answering that very well as is your want. But to the specific question I asked, as a public, and the reason I asked you is because you're in a position. So answer that for me.
I was going to address that one.
Yes.
So we need to, I think we normally tend to use this word qualification very loosely, and qualification is specific to the requirements of each job. So if I have qualifications in terms of expertise and experience in a particular area, this does not necessarily mean that I am qualified for any job, because every single job has its specific set of requirements that are usually clearly outlined in the advertisements for these positions. I say this to say that when you hold certain high-level public positions, it must be demonstrated that you have the capacity to be able to discharge your duties impartially, without fear or malice. And the utterances of Mr. Chung in relation to the IC's report were utterances that showed favor or showed bias towards the Prime Minister. Now, the statements were not measured to the extent that Mr. Chung did not say, while we welcome any investigation that seek to enhance public accountability and so forth, and we also recognize the right of the Prime Minister to due process, its statement amounted to dismissal, and he questioned the validity. It
was Damian Gordon. Hold on, I'd say to you that it was in relation to a specific question, and you're a man of research. You know I would know exactly why I say that. So it was a specific question about the 28 bank accounts, and he said,
if you are a court in the matter of, for example, legal cases, if you are a judge who has in the public space made comments that indicate bias against or for, you may be called upon, and it is customary for a judge to be called upon who has made previous statements that indicate bias for or against, to recuse him or herself from any case where the bias may have implication for the decision made. Because
if you notice,
need to know that Yes, we need
if you
to know
notice,
that.
the thing is this.
Yes.
I've not even sought to nudge you off your point, because again, it's your interpretation, and I invited you to give me your opinion, so that's fine. Other people would look at it and say, well, I don't think that those comments showed inherent or manifest bias in favor of the Prime Minister. You think so, other people don't. For instance, I don't think so, but that's fine. That's fine. I'm saying your comments as a public commentator, when asked by the media to do so, should these be held against you if it is that you're to take up certain offices down the road, is the question.
Yes, because if the comments indicate bias, it questions your capacity to be able to discharge your function, especially as a public servant.
Yes.
We're not talking about a private citizen who is heading a firm. We're not talking about an individual who will be appointed to a political party.
Yes.
We're talking about an individual who will be appointed to serve the public.
So despite the fact,
especially given the fact that this is an agency that will be tasked to potentially investigate not only the Prime Minister, but other.
So you hold a view, Damian. You hold a view, even though we have not been given a series of comments by Chung. It's one comment that is a problem. You're thinking that one comment is still problematic.
Yeah, but it is one. I'm going to tell you why it is problematic.
My predecessor, we
can't ignore the fact that we operate in a political context where codeism, nepotism, and the perception that we recycle the same to positions is rampant. Right?
So we have
to consider public opinion on this matter, not just the opinion of the People's National Party, civil society organization.
I hear you.
But the appearance of the public is also important.
I hear you on that. I have to go. Unfortunately, I have to run. Thank you very much, Damian.
Good conversation, George.
Yeah, good. Assistant lecturer.